I work with people. My name is Laura Knoff. I'm a certified nutrition consultant. I am board certified in holistic nutrition, which means that I've gone through several steps to understand the whole body, the emotions, as well as exercise, as well as the foundational nutrition aspects. I particularly work with people and their diet, their food, along with how they're eating, what they're eating, and what's eating them to some extent. So that's the kind of thing that we work with. Let me share my screen and see, give you this. So we have a slideshow on your immune system, how you can stay healthy. So this is going to help you get some basic information of a little bit of how your immune system works and what you can do. So what does it take to keep your immune system strong? And your immune system is your defense systems, your overall way of resisting invasion from anything. Everything from pathogens like viruses and bacteria and mold and fungus to even energies and even sometimes people, I think, that may be hazardous to your health. So the five basic things that you need, first of all, is rest and relaxation. I think one of the advantages really for people who have had to shelter in place is they're not as busy as they used to be. They may actually be getting more and better sleep, I've heard reported. So rest and relaxation. Obviously good food, and good food is a interesting, really not that helpful term, but food that is fresh and whole and as close to nature as possible. So, and also that has adequate protein, minerals, and what we call antioxidants. Those are those living, colorful, flavorful parts of the food that increase our immune function, that increase our vitality. So once we've eaten that wonderful food that has all those great things, we also have to digest it well and be able to absorb the nutrients and use those nutrients to build our immunity. So good digestion is a major part. It's my focus in my practice is always first digestion. So without good digestion, any diet is not going to work for somebody. So good digestion requires that calming relaxation that we already talked about. Along with that, we have to move around. We have to move our circulation. We have to move our lymph. We have to move our muscles. And when we move around, we're asking our body to make more energy. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm too tired to exercise. I don't know what to do. I don't have the equipment. But even taking a brisk walk, even just dancing in your living room to music that you enjoy, those are exercise. Those are movement. And that works too, to move lymph and move energy. And of course, avoiding all the things that are hazardous to our immune system. And there are many, of course, toxins in our environment. Air pollution has actually decreased due to the shelter in place, so that's been an advantage. Avoiding toxic chemicals. Now, unfortunately, we've replaced a lot of our air pollution with hand sanitizer, which can be very toxic. So it's also killing some of the good bacteria on our bodies and in our environment. So we don't want to do too much sterilization of our environment. But obviously, we have to do a little bit to make sure we aren't encountering everything that's out there. And the other things that can be hazardous to our immune system are what we call the nutrition bandits at Bowman College, where I teach. And that's the sugar, the white flour products, the chemicals in the food, the preservatives, the colors, the flavorings, all those kinds of things that are not natural. They're chemicals, and they change how our body responds. So there are hazards. Refined foods, as I mentioned, what they do is they can actually slow down the mobility of our white blood cells. White blood cells are kind of like Pac-Man. They go after any kind of pathogens, anything that's not supposed to be in our body, in our bloodstream particularly. So these white blood cells, if they can't do their job as quickly and easily, they end up having less effectiveness, and they're not as good at removing pathogens that could be around. The heavy metals such as mercury, cadmium, lead, arsenic, and aluminum, they interfere with our enzymes that our body uses to actually make the immune system work properly, to keep us healthy, to have us have energy, to have us digest well, to do all those kinds of things. And of course, stress challenges our immune system, it challenges our circulation, it challenges our digestion, it challenges our reproduction. So stress is really a harmful aspect. We cannot get rid of stress, but we can change how we look at stress, how we manage our stress. We can, have fewer things on our to-do list to make it a little simpler. We can say no to certain things. We can delegate certain activities. So as well as how we look at things. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? So what is a good diet? As I mentioned before, it has to contain some antioxidants. And so we've got some examples there on the side of some very beautifully colorful and varied foods that contain antioxidants. The antioxidants are compounds. They're not exactly, not all of them are vitamins and minerals, although some of them are. Antioxidants also include things that provide the flavors, the flavonoids and the bioflavonoids in foods, the colors like the dark blue and dark red colors in berries are antioxidants as well. You may have heard of essential fatty acids. These are fats that we cannot make. I mean, there are some fats we can make, but essential fatty acids we have to get from our diets. And you've probably heard of fish oils, or EPA and DHA are abbreviations for names of some of these fish oils. Flax seeds and chia seeds also contain essential fatty acids. So cold water fish is an excellent, fatty fish is an excellent source of these essential fatty acids. The minerals, everything in nature contains, every real food that's not been refined contains a wide variety of minerals, but in various ratios. So the different foods have different ratios of the various minerals. And so all of these minerals are needed, and they're needed in relationship, in the right ratios with each other. And the good news is you don't have to micromanage that if you can eat whole foods that are not refined and have not had the minerals removed, because that's one of the major things that is lost when they're refining foods, is they remove the parts that have the most minerals. We also need protein to provide us with amino acids. Some people have probably heard of certain amino acids that help if you have a cold sore, for instance. Some people take the amino acid lysine, but protein in general, and protein that contains all 8 essential amino acids, as well as some conditionally essential amino acids. These are the building blocks of proteins. So protein-rich foods are the meats, the fish, the eggs, and the beans that can provide the building blocks for our immune system, as well as the necessary cofactors. Please mute yourself. So we also include probiotics in a good diet. Probiotics are the good bacteria, foods that are fermented that have these good bacteria that support us, and I'll talk a little bit more about how that works. So the antioxidants are generally, one of the major ones is vitamin A. And vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. So if you're eating a fat-free diet, you're not getting any vitamin A directly. What vitamin A does is it supports our mucous membranes, keeps our lungs healthy and strong, keeps our skin healthy and strong. It helps those white blood cells, the macrophages and T and B cells, to do their job. And the amounts per day can vary, but in general, a diet that has 20 to 50,000 international units are actually really small in micrograms. So that sounds like a lot, but it's not. And it's vitamin A directly is found in liver. Most people don't like liver, but chicken liver pate, all those kinds of things. Butter, which many people do like but have been avoiding for various reasons. not necessarily good reasons, and as the fatty fish, as I mentioned. You can also, some people are capable of doing a fairly good job of converting these compounds called carotenes found in the red, orange, yellow, green vegetables into vitamin A. But that has to be done in the liver, and your liver has to be in decent shape. If you drink too much carrot juice, your skin will start to turn orange. It means you've overwhelmed your conversion abilities. Vitamin C is one that's been in the news quite a bit lately, and it strengthens our barrier defenses, our skin, our collagen, and Dr. Shalev will talk a little bit more about vitamin C, but it also keeps those white blood cells, those phagocytes and T and B cells working, moving properly. And all fresh vegetables, and particularly citrus fruit, contain vitamin C, and fresh is the optimal term. Apparently, after food is sitting around for a while, or if it's processed, it loses quite a bit of vitamin C. There's a study that was done that showed that 80% of vitamin C is lost after about 2 weeks from when a vegetable is picked, and if it spends 2 weeks in a refrigerated situation, in the refrigerator, it'll lose about 80% of its vitamin C. So we want to get food as fresh as possible. Buying from farmers markets, buying from stores that have a good turnover of vegetables and fruits, especially vegetables, is very helpful. Now, vitamin E helps protect all these other antioxidants, and it should be getting it if you're taking a supplement in mixed tocopherols, but actually the best way is to eat nuts and seeds. The highest source of vitamin E is sunflower seeds, and quite a few people like sunflower seeds. It's not an unusual food, and you can eat enough sunflower seeds to get a considerable amount of vitamin E, and it helps us make antibodies, which are very helpful in these times. There's also zinc, which is a mineral that is not as common in our standard American diet, but is needed, and it helps, again, those white blood cells. You can take zinc lozenges, and one of the ways that you'll know if you have enough zinc is when those lozenges start to taste metallic or start to taste bitter. That's a sign that you probably haven't gotten enough zinc. One thing we notice sometimes when we have a low zinc level, or if we've had a cold, is that we lose our sense of taste and smell. And loss of sense of smell has been one of the things that's been noted in the COVID-19 situation. And zinc is especially high in oysters, but it's also, again, in liver and fish and seaweed. Another mineral that is helpful for the immune system is selenium. It's also found in seaweed and in Brazil nuts. And it also supports those white blood cells. Some of them are called natural killer cells. Natural killer cells are especially helpful against cancer. So all of these nutrients work together. And they work together with the amino acids. So all of our cells, as I mentioned, and our antibodies and our barrier defenses are made from these amino acids that we get from the proteins. So how much protein we eat will depend on how large we are, how active we are, and also how well we can digest it. So the key to getting adequate protein is digesting it well and having enough in the diet to make a difference. When we see a low level of amino acids, low level of protein in the diet, we see that the immune system suffers. The probiotics, as I mentioned, they reduce the stress on the immune system. They make the gut inhospitable to pathogenic bacteria, so they make a good environment for the good guys, but not for the bad guys. They enhance the surface of the intestines to prevent things that shouldn't get through from getting through. And they also create food. These bacteria actually create food for the cells of our digestive tract. So they break down soluble fiber, which should also be in the diet, into something called short chain fatty acids, which feed the cells lining our gut and keeping it healthy and keeping it strong and helping it resist invasion. So I've seen people who've had good probiotic, good situation with their probiotics, who have resisted getting food poisoning and other kind of stomach flu kind of things. And of course, these substances, if you're eating the yogurt and all these other things, kraut, it has to not be pasteurized. Pasteurization kills bacteria, including the good bacteria. There are some herbs that are helpful to keep our immune system strong. They're listed here. And they do a wide variety of things. They help us detox. They help keep our immune system healthy and strong. And they work against bacteria, viruses, and inflammation. So astragalus, schizandra, turmeric, panax ginseng, Siberian ginseng, reishi, shiitake, and maitake mushrooms. They are delicious and can be added to many meals. If you can add some shiitake mushrooms and maitake mushrooms. Reishi is another kind of mushroom that's a hard mushroom. It's usually powdered and put into a tea, but the others are easily available at most stores. You've probably heard of echinacea and St. John's wort. These are antiviral herbs. They particularly work against viruses, and they can be taken ahead of time, or they can basically be taken when you start to have those first inklings that you're not feeling well. And one of the things that helps sometimes is to have Dr. Joan muscle test you to see which one of these is helpful, but also it's helpful to take them at the very beginning to see if they will do some work. And they are especially helpful if you've been exposed, if you think you've been exposed to a virus, to take these echinacea and or St. John's wort. Another thing that's been used pretty extensively is elderberry syrup. It boosts the immune system quite a bit and eases lung congestion and coughs. Another that helps with coughs and respiratory situations are elecampane root, and it can be used in the early days of an infection, and if it's acute, it's useful then. But you don't need to take it just to prevent a cold or flu. It's better if you're starting to feel like you have it. Not to be left out, of course, is our psychological factors, our social factors. So regular exercise, moderate exercise, as I said, moves the lymph, moves the white blood cells around, and moves the blood, and moves all these wonderful nutrients to the cells that need them. Keeping a positive attitude. Our immune system actually has receptors to our hormones and neurotransmitters. So our immune system, our little Pac-Man cells, understand when we're happy and they understand when we're not. And when they're not, they get depressed too. So when our white blood cells are hearing the signal that everything is working well and it's all good, even if it's going to get better, it doesn't have to be good now, but it could get better, that positive attitude keeps them doing their job and doing it well. And we can help that with also visualizing our immune system as attacking invaders and forming a strong defensive shield. In Chinese medicine, they call that a jade screen. And it's a idea that you're going to stop potential invasion. So having good relationships, having a stable environment with friends and family. Obviously, we can't be as close to friends and family as we were before, but we can still, I think a lot of people are now seeing more people on the Zoom than they did in real life, so that may be helpful. Expressing ourselves emotionally also helps, whether it's writing or art. Art gives form to feeling, and that's a nice way to also keep things going. And having a purpose in life. So giving these kinds of talks and helping people to feel better is my purpose. I'm sure you all have your own excellent purpose. So thank you, and I hope this has been helpful. You can get a copy of these slides if you email me, and I will send you a PDF of them. So I also have a handout of immune supportive foods particularly, and their actions, and then that handout can also be yours if you send us your email. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I don't see if anybody.
Oh, I have a question. Just a second.
Is that Alice?
Yes. Oh, since I'm unmuted, what about overdoing it? I've been actually told by my endocrinologist I have my vitamin B12 is too high. So I
Well,
wonder about that.
we need,
And also vitamin A.
we need to talk actually personally, but generally what's in the blood is usually how they're detecting that, and what's in the blood does not reflect what's in the cells.
Ah,
It can be high in the blood because it's not getting into the cells.
oh, thank you. Okay.
All right, Rebecca.
Laura, I have a couple questions in the chat.
Okay,
This is Janet.
yes. Let me see if I can. Da-da. How much sugar can we eat in fresh fruits, and examples of heavy metals to avoid? So the list of heavy metals was on that slide. We can go back to that. How much sugar? It depends on each person. I think for a lot of people, fruit now has more sugar than it ought to have, more sugar than it used to have, and less antioxidants than it needs. So I would limit fruit to maybe 1 or 2 pieces a day. And for some people that have blood sugar issues or even sensitivities to fructose, I would say maybe less than that. It's possible to go through life without eating fruit. Or somebody once said, knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing that it shouldn't be in a fruit salad. So making sure that the kinds of fruits, so to speak, we eat don't have to be sugary. And I think if you're going to eat fruit, the best choices are probably the berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. They're right now coming into season, so that will help. How do I feel about a cup of coffee? 1 cup of coffee for a person may be okay, but it depends on the person. Some people are very sensitive and disrupted. Their immune system and their nervous system is disrupted by caffeine. So that's up to each person. Adding turmeric to my coffee, is that a good way to do it? Well, it's a good way to take the turmeric. It may not be a great thing if the coffee isn't working for you. So I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you.